Chapter 405. A large fleet was traversing the sea. Feng Yao stood on the side of the fleet's flagship, the mighty Flame, and looked into the distance. In front of him was an endless dark blue, and the sea breeze blew his long hair gently. The handsome bard looked sad at the moment, and his eyes were absent-minded, revealing endless thoughts. Dong dong dong. Heavy footsteps came from behind him. Feng Yao was not alarmed, but immersed in his own thoughts. Thinking of your goddess? The owner of the footsteps came to Feng Yao's side and looked into the distance. Only then did Feng Yao come to his senses. He turned around and looked at the person who had arrived. Boss! The person who came was the leader of the Flamebeard pirates, the legendary pirate Flamebeard. Flamebeard's burly body was in sharp contrast to Feng Yao's. The rough man smacked his lips and looked in the direction Feng Yao was looking and smiled. Your goddess is in that direction? Feng Yao did not make a sound. Is it on the Flame Island? Flamebeard asked again. Feng Yao's heart was shocked, but his face did not change. Why do you think so? He had the curse of Love God, so he knew where Blue Charm God's body was. But Feng Yao was also worried that others would plot against the goddess, even though Flamebeard had promised him that he would not plot against Blue Charm God's body. But of course, Feng Yao was not willing to let his beloved take any risk. Flamebeard looked at Feng Yao and sighed deeply. If it's not, then it's best. You can rest assured that I will not go back on what I promised you. But, if your goddess is really on the Flame Island, then there will be big trouble. According to the information I just received, now Hua Xing and Asa have started to move, and they are rushing to the Flame Island very quickly. These two seem to have reached some kind of agreement in private. The Flame Island is guarded by a legendary giant, but these two guys suddenly joined forces and desperately attacked the island. This situation is very unusual. In my opinion, there is only one thing that is worth the two of them suddenly joining forces and launching such an action. That is to stop me from plundering the goddess body. Feng Yao's breathing suddenly became rapid, and his face became quite ugly. He didn't think that Firebeard was lying to him because this kind of thing was easy to verify. Both Asa and Hua Xing were legendary pirates who were as famous as Firebeard. Once they moved on a large scale, it would be difficult to cover up the news. It shouldn't be like this. Feng Yao's face was pale as he hugged his head in distress, his voice filled with disbelief. Seeing his expression, Firebeard naturally got the answer, and his expression became serious. The second in command, Multi-Arms, walked over and said, "Third brother, the situation doesn't look good. We've just taken out the Empire's Navy headquarters and paid a heavy price for our boss to get close to the pirate throne. If the other two pirates succeed at this time, then the situation will be even, and we might even fall behind." Feng Yao's body was on the verge of collapsing. He had to lean on the side of the ship to stabilize himself. He has the clergy of deception and disguise. He shouldn't have been exposed like this. Firebeard patted Feng Yao's shoulder. Multi-Arms asked, "Do you know about ink bugs?" "Who?" Feng Yao was puzzled. Multi-Arms shook his head slightly. "She's a legendary level clairvoyant and a believer of the poison sect. Previously, her reputation wasn't very prominent. But after this, I'm afraid she'll be famous all over the world." According to our information, Asa and Hua Xing asked her to do a divination at the same time. In the end, she divined the location of the fire-breathing island. For a moment, Feng Yao's breathing gradually stopped, and cold sweat began to seep out of his forehead. "Boss Firebeard." Suddenly, he woke up and looked at Firebeard with a pleading gaze. Firebeard laughed. "Don't worry. Although I'm not very interested in the pirate throne, I don't want those two guys to succeed. More importantly, it's related to my brother's most beloved woman." "Boss!" Feng Yao was so moved that his eyes turned red. This was Firebeard. He was heroic, willing to think for his brother, and also had the strength to stand up for his brother. Since leaving the military port, The double sword had been sailing on the sea for a long time. Wei Xing's complexion was haggard these few days, and he had heavy dark eye bags. He couldn't sleep well and was under great pressure. The Empire's Navy headquarters had been taken out, which made the Sacred Empire lose face and was also a disgrace to the Empire's Navy. Wei Xing was held accountable. This was because he had taken most of his power to form a huge fleet and left the military port to deal with the Justice Pirates and Blue Charm God's body. This made the military port fall into a state of extreme weakness, and then the Firebeard pirates succeeded in their sneak attack. After Bai Tong escaped, for his own sake, the first thing he did was to point his spear at Wei Xing. This time, when I return to the Empire, I'm afraid I will be stripped of my navy rank. Wei Xing thought of this and clenched his fists, feeling extremely unwilling and angry. Everything was because of the Blue Charm God's body, because of the Justice Pirate, but the embarrassing thing was that he hadn't even seen their shadow until now. This was a failure. Stripping the rank wasn't the point was failure. Wei Xing hated failure the most. I don't want to. Just as he was screaming in pain, a subordinate suddenly came to report. What did you say? Wei Xing's attention was immediately attracted by the information. The news from Admiral Yi, Blue Charm God's body, is on the fire-breathing island. Also, the two pirate leaders also rushed to the fire-breathing island. Yi had participated in and witnessed the entire process of Mo Lao's divination. In order to stop Firebeard, Hua Xing and Asa were determined and acted with a lot of madness. As a Marine Admiral, Yi naturally wanted to stop them, but of course, he didn't want to bear the pressure alone. After all, Firebeard had destroyed the Marine headquarters before and beat Datong badly. Therefore, Yi naturally chose to report to the Marine headquarters for help. As the acting fleet admiral, Wei Xing received this key information. The legendary diviner Mo Lao, no, he should be a demigod now. This result should be good. The fire-breathing island, there is a legendary giant mage there. Why would the Justice Pirates go there? Wait. I understand, it's the abyss. They must be trying to escape into the abyss through the weak point of the space there to avoid the Empire's pursuit. Wei Xing felt like a bolt of lightning had struck his heart. Everything made sense. It seems that Blue Charm God has really declined, otherwise, she would never take the risk to sneak into the abyss. I still have a chance in this case, I still have a chance. In an instant, Wei Xing was full of momentum and motivation. The previous decadence, confusion, anger, and so on were swept away. He is such an elite, as long as there is a chance of victory, he will go all out to fight for it. From childhood to adulthood, he has never given up easily. This time, he will definitely not. Let me see, what should I do? First, inform Yen Tan. This old thing. Wei Xing gritted his teeth. If he doesn't appear this time, even if I am stripped of my rank, I will find him to settle accounts. Then, let me see who is the closest to the fire-breathing island? What kind of forces can I mobilize? Wei Xing quickly went to the war room to check the marine map. Then, his eyes slightly narrowed, he saw a marine fleet docked on the fire-breathing island at this moment. How lucky! Wei Xing was overjoyed, but after checking the marine designation, his expression became a little strange. The fleet in the desert, why is it him again? Chapter 406. A lot of information immediately flashed through Wei Xing's mind. This is all about Rear Admiral Tan Mo. Being able to be valued by Marine Fleet Admiral Tan and delegated to him, Wei Xing naturally has his own uniqueness. Wei Xing is very familiar with Tan Mo's greedy nature, and recalling the latter's previous behavior, he suddenly snorted and said to himself discontentedly, "Another one." Marine Rear Admiral Tan Mo was in Knife Mountain Island before, after receiving the military order to deal with the Justice Pirates. The Blunt Knife City alchemy bomb explosion happened, so his hands and feet were tied. Without his fleet, The battleship led by Rear Admiral Chiao was not in good condition, and the result was that the entire fleet was wiped out. After that, Tan Mo took the opportunity to annex the team left by Chiao Chiao's fleet at the Knife Mountain Island dock and set sail again. As a result, in the subsequent voyage, his fleet was frequently in bad condition, either attacked by sea beasts or encountered bad and extreme climate changes, resulting in the speed being hindered and unable to increase. Therefore, he has not participated in the battle with the Justice Pirate. As for why Rear Admiral Tan Mo entered the Flame Island, Wei Xing immediately knew the reason. He used the excuse that the fleet was in bad condition and needed to stop and rest. This guy, he didn't want to be lazy, but now he's here by accident, right? Wei Xing suddenly had a guess in his heart. Yes, if it wasn't for the information, even Wei Xing wouldn't have thought that the Justice Pirates would sneak into the Flame Island. After all, the Flame Island itself has a legendary giant mage. In addition, there is the vast ocean. The Justice Pirates can choose too many escape routes. No, maybe he did it on purpose. Because he is a member of Admiral Igui's faction, it is also very likely that he was forced by the latter to land on the Flame Island first. When Wei Xing thought of this, he completely dispelled the idea of giving orders to Tan Mo's fleet, and he didn't even inform him. The reason for this is very simple. If Fruit Desert was a fluke, then Wei Xing was sure that he would run away at the last minute. Of course, the reason will be very legitimate, making it more difficult for the Marine headquarters to pursue in the future. If Tan Mo was instructed by Igui, then without Wei Xing's order, Tan Mo will continue to stay and wait for the opportunity to move. With regards to Wei Xing's orders, Tan Mo, who had someone above him, would definitely obey in public but disobey in private. In a restaurant in the harbor of Flames, Spitfire Island, Tan Mo and the mayor of Blunt Blade City sat opposite each other with leftovers on the table. Tan Mo ate the last bite of steak and let out a sound of admiration. I told you, the chef here can handle gold-level magical beast meat. How does it taste? Very good. The mayor of Blunt Blade City nodded in agreement. He breathed the sea breeze through the window and watched the white seabirds flying above the fluttering flags. The mayor of Blunt Blade City raised the cup in his hand and said, "Most importantly, the coffee here is not bad. I'm a little tired of drinking on your treasure ship." Tan Mo immediately rolled his eyes. The mayor of Blunt Blade City laughed. From accepting the invitation of the Empire to boarding the ship and traveling in the desert, the relationship between the city lord and the major general rapidly deepened. There was nothing they could do about it. The two of them had joined hands to slack off in battle, forming a proper front line. Previously, they had cooperated in Blunt Blade City. Along the way, they had pretended to be attacked by sea beasts or created bad weather. Slacking off, especially in the Imperial Navy, required a lot of energy and effort. Next, the two did not speak. Both enjoyed the tranquil sea breeze and the beautiful scenery of the harbor. Even if the interior of the treasure was vast, after sailing for so long, the two missed land. At this moment, as they reminisced about the delicious food, the accumulated boredom in their hearts was quickly fading. "How many days do we have to rest here?" The mayor of Blunt Blade City broke the silence. Tan Mo sighed, "We're too unlucky. The attack of an unknown mysterious beast has caused great damage to our ship. We have to rest for at least a week." The mayor of Blunt Blade City frowned. So short, the mayor of Blunt Blade City had accidentally told the truth. He quickly corrected himself. That long? I was invited by the Empire to fight, but I haven't even seen the shadow of the righteous pirates. I'm ashamed." Tan Mo smiled, then spread his hands and said in distress, "My lord, your mood is my mood, and I'm also very anxious. But a week is the shortest time I can buy. You know the damage of the fleet, and the Navy has been urging us. This is already the limit of what we can buy." "That's it." The mayor of Blunt Blade City nodded. In terms of slacking off, he admitted that he was far inferior to Tan Mo. What's more, Tan Mo was more familiar with the rules of the Navy. It's rare to come to Spitfire Island. Should we go to the main city? Tan Mo suggested. But the mayor of Blunt Blade City showed a hint of embarrassment. Let's not, according to our identity, we have to visit the Lord of Spitfire Island. Besides, it's not good to go shopping rashly. Yes. Tan Mo thought about it and felt that the mayor of Blunt Blade City was right. Before, he had no problem doing this. But not now. The matter of the righteous pirates hasn't been solved yet. The key is that the Marine Headquarters military port was destroyed by Firebeard. This situation made all the Marines feel shocked, angry, and humiliated. Almost all of them held their breath and wanted to get back at the scene. At this stage, if the Marines heard that someone was slacking off, how would they react? Tan Mo didn't want to get into such trouble for no reason. Huh! At this moment, Tan Mo's expression changed slightly. He saw a human mage alone, leaping into the air and landing on the steel giant docked at the dock. Is this Earl Tucker? Not only Tan Mo, but the mayor of Blunt Blade City was also attracted and immediately recognized the identity of this person. It's him. Tan Mo nodded. Then, the two of them saw Count Tucker land on the deck and hurriedly walk into the ship. Then, the steel giant started and quickly left the dock. Where is he going? Isn't he negotiating with the Lord of Spitfire Island? The mayor of Blunt Blade City was puzzled. They came to this dock and naturally inquired about the news. The biggest thing recently was Tucker's invasion, and the Lord of Spitfire Island personally greeted him. Therefore, Tan Mo and the mayor of Blunt Blade City knew about this matter. But now Tucker just left, it was a bit strange. According to common sense, the negotiation between the two sides would take at least a week. Even if the cooperation failed, the Lord of Spitfire Island would send Tucker away and wouldn't let him leave alone. Something must have happened during this, something they didn't know. Tan Mo stared at the steel giant as it left. He narrowed his eyes and sucked in a cold breath. Hiss! Why do I feel like Count Tucker seems to be fleeing? Is it just my imagination? Why is my heart beating so fast? Something doesn't feel right. The mayor of Blunt Blade City laughed and didn't think much of it. You're overthinking it. Could it be that the negotiation between Earl Tucker and Spitfire Island fell apart? But soon, the mayor of Blunt Blade City denied this speculation. Even if the negotiation fell apart, it shouldn't be like this. Could Tucker have done something to betray Spitfire Island? Ha ha. Could it be that Zia has taken a fancy to him? The mayor of Blunt Blade City was amused by himself. But Tan Mo's frown deepened. I feel more and more uneasy. Damn it, this feeling is very uncomfortable. Brother, don't panic. The mayor of Blunt Blade City comforted him. This is Spitfire Island. There are legendary giants overseeing this place. The defense here is very tight. Haven't you been to the main city? Look at those giant city guards, they're very elite. This is the last essence of the giant race of the Red Earth Plateau. In their eyes, our strength is simply insignificant. Yes, you're right. Tan Mo's brows relaxed a little. I'm a little paranoid. But at this moment, a subordinate ran over with sweat all over his forehead. Sir, there's an emergency message from Admiral Igue. What? Tan Mo froze for a moment, and then he didn't dare to neglect and quickly left his seat. Using the magic communication device, he received a direct order from Admiral Igue. Are you on Spitfire Island? Very good. Stay there and guard against all enemies. I'm on my way. If the righteous pirates appear, fight to the death. Tan Mo. Chapter 407. Tan Mo didn't know how he got back to the restaurant. Seeing Tan Mo's dazed expression, the mayor of Blunt Blade City felt his heart skip a beat. What happened? He asked hurriedly. Tan Mo slowly turned his eyes and stared at the mayor, but the mayor could see that his eyes were extremely silent, and there seemed to be a huge hole in his heart. What happened? The mayor of Blunt Blade City panicked. It was the first time the mayor of Blunt Blade City had seen Tan Mo like this since he met him. Slap, slap, slap. Suddenly, Tan Mo stretched out his hand and slapped himself hard in the face. With a crisp sound, his cheeks and palms quickly turned red. The mayor of Blunt Blade City was stunned. For a moment, he was quite at a loss. Tan Mo said in a crying tone, "Yes. You deserve it. I really deserve it. What was I thinking? I wanted to come to Spitfire City to resupply. I was wrong, I was really wrong. If I had another chance, I would have stayed far away from this island." The mayor of Blunt Blade City slapped the table anxiously and growled, "What happened?" Tan Mo covered his face with his hand and told the mayor the truth with a heavy heart. After learning the situation, the mayor of Blunt Blade City was dumbfounded. If they had known this would happen, why would they have tried to be sneaky? In the end, they still ran into the Justice Pirate. It was simply outrageous. Today, the information about the Justice Pirates and Blue Charm Goddess had spread widely. Tan Mo and the mayor of Blunt Blade City already knew the inside story. When they first heard about it, they were very lucky to have escaped a disaster. But now they still ran into them. Should we leave? The mayor of Blunt Blade City hesitated. You're crazy. Tan Mo's previous attitude was gone. This is an order from Igue-sama. If we leave, we will be court-martialed by the Empire. There will be no more prospects for our lives in the future. The mayor of Blunt Blade City stared. Do you mean that the two of us are going to fight against the gods? Blue Charm Goddess is very weak, but we can't deal with it. Any beast on the verge of despair is the most dangerous, let alone the gods. If you don't even have your life, what's the point of talking about the future and prospects of life? Tan Mo sighed. Of course what you said makes sense. But I just received a military order, and the next step is to leave the island. This is desertion. How does the Empire deal with deserters? We will definitely be sentenced to death. Instead of being treated as a deserter and sentenced to death in disgrace, I might as well take a gamble here. The mayor of Blunt Blade City widened his eyes even more. He could not help but suspect that the desert before him was a fake one. You still want to take the risk? Tan Mo spat out a mouthful of saliva and cursed. If we don't fight, what else can we do? We will definitely participate in the battle. We can only act according to the circumstances. Let's go back to the ship now, not on the island. God knows where the Justice Pirates are hiding. This island is too dangerous. The mayor of Blunt Blade City nodded repeatedly. That's right. When we return to the ship, we can attack or retreat. It's very flexible. Immediately, the two of them did not dare to delay and hurriedly returned to the treasure. Standing on the deck, Tan Mo and the mayor of Blunt Blade City watched the steel giant disappear into the sea. They wished they could replace Tucker on the ship. Tucker looked at the shrinking Spitfire Island in his field of vision and sighed inwardly. When he received the message from his teacher, he immediately understood that Spitfire Island had become a place of trouble and was very dangerous. Without any hesitation, he retreated directly. Then, he received a reply from his family. This message made him understand that the location of Blue Charm God's main body had been divined by a newly ascended demigod fortune-teller. Now, the three legendary pirates, Firebeard, Hua Xing, and Asa, had obvious movements. They all pointed their weapons at Spitfire Island. Blue Charm Goddess probably wants to use the geographical advantage to escape to the abyss, Tucker guessed. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. He sensed that his puppet clone had been received by the mayor of Spitfire Island. Although Tucker's main body had left Spitfire Island, he had left behind a sanctuary-level alchemy puppet. This puppet's appearance and aura were very similar to Tucker's, and it was extremely expensive to make. Its greatest use was to act as Tucker's substitute in certain situations, confusing the enemy and attracting their firepower. It was definitely not feasible to just leave like this. As a noble, Tucker understood the rules and importance of interpersonal relationships very well. At this moment, the puppet Tucker successfully met the mayor of Spitfire Island and told him all this important information. The righteous pirates? And Blue Charm Goddess main body? The mayor of Spitfire Island was shocked. She was at the legendary level. According to the level of life, she was inferior to the god. The key was that because of Blue Charm Goddess main body, Spitfire Island had fallen into a very dangerous situation. The three legendary pirate groups were swarming over. A war was imminent. The mayor of Spitfire Island did not want to see his home reduced to ruins after a war. After pondering for a moment, she first expressed her most sincere gratitude to the puppet Tucker. Then, she immediately asked for help from the upper echelons of the empire. Finally, she urgently gathered the powerhouses under her command, as well as her personal guards, and told them the whole story. Spitfire Island must not become a battlefield for legends or even gods. This is our only home left. Thank you, our friend Earl Tucker, for bringing us detailed information. The righteous pirates are on the island. They are likely to be in contact with the leader of the 100 Needles clan. They want to continue infiltrating the sacred empire. We must seize this clue and find them all. They are not allowed to destroy the peace of Spitfire Island. I will personally lead you to war with Blue Charm Goddess and expel them from the island. The mayor of Spitfire Island's prestige and appeal were very strong. His subordinates all responded and obeyed his orders. The puppet Tucker watched all this and nodded to himself. The mayor of Spitfire Island's response was very correct. The three pirate groups were here for Blue Charm Goddess main body. Instead of a war breaking out in the future, the mayor of Spitfire Island would protect it in front of three powerhouses of the same level. It would be better to start a war first and scare Blue Charm Goddess away. My lord, my sanctuary puppet is also very willing to fight side by side with you, the puppet Tucker said in a timely manner. The mayor of Spitfire Island's expression softened slightly. He squeezed out a smile and nodded to the puppet Tucker. The giants of the Red Plateau will definitely remember the Earl's friendship. Sakia said, I think the power of the Sand Yellow clan can also be used. The mayor of Spitfire Island was slightly taken aback. He took a deep look at Sakia and said with relief, then tell them the truth. It's all up to them. Understood. Sakia immediately retreated. Half an hour later, somewhere in a dark corner of the port, seeing the mermaid deity and the others in front of him, the patriarch of the 100 Needles clan was shocked. Righteous pirates? Armtile's face was livid. The moment the Murloc deity appeared, he knew that his side had gotten themselves into big trouble. I hope to borrow the power of the 100 Needles clan to help us get out of danger. The mermaid deity went straight to the point. That's impossible. The patriarch of the 100 Needles clan shook his head, his face pale. What's the difference between saving you and betraying the empire? Ha ha! The mermaid deity chuckled. Don't be so hasty to refuse. First of all, I didn't put all my hopes on you. Don't be too stressed. Second, think about Zhenjin. He's the only heir of the 100 Needles clan. Finally, don't worry too much. We sneaked into Spitfire Island. Our itinerary was very secretive. Who would know? In fact, all we need is a little cooperation. The patriarch of the 100 Needles clan and Tsukiya were silent. They were in a dilemma. On the one hand, he was the only heir of the clan. On the other hand, there were serious consequences of betraying the empire. After looking at the patriarch of the 100 Needles clan and Tsukiya's struggling and painful expressions for a while, the mermaid deity was about to continue to persuade them. At this time, a large number of giant warriors suddenly flashed around. The mayor of Spitfire Island, Tsukiya, Sha Bun, and the puppet Tucker immediately rose up and surrounded the mermaid deity and the others. The mermaid deity and the others looked up and were shocked. The patriarch of the 100 Needles clan and Tsukiya were also surrounded. The former's face was pale. With incomparable bitterness and resentment, he said to the mermaid deity, "You call this very secretive?" Chapter 408. Seeing a legend and 3 saints in the sky, the mermaid deity and the others were shocked. "Damn it! We've been discovered. Let's run." "Wait." The mermaid deity waved her hand and said to the Lord of Spitfire City, "My lord, we have no intention of being your enemy." The mermaid deity tried to communicate, but before she could finish, the Lord of Spitfire City interrupted her with a cold snort. "You're my mortal enemy the moment you set foot on Spitfire Island. But I'm willing to give you a chance. Leave now. Otherwise, Spitfire Island will be your graveyard." The Lord of Spitfire City didn't intend to attack directly. This was her home, the last place where the giants of the Red Earth Plateau lived. The mermaid deity in front of her was only at the silver level, and the others were even more insignificant. The Lord of Spitfire City was still afraid of Blue Charm God behind them. Who knew how much power Blue Charm God had? The mermaid deity nodded. "We'll leave Spitfire Island immediately and go to the abyss." "No!" The Lord of Spitfire City was furious. "I'm responsible for guarding the entrance to the abyss. How can I let you enter so easily? Give up on that idea. This is not negotiable." "Then there's no other way." The mermaid deity laughed. "Let's go." The negotiation failed, but the mermaid deity and the others had other means. The next moment, a dazzling light shone under their feet. Amidst the radiance, a large-scale formation appeared. The array was quickly activated and teleported the mermaid deity and the others out. "Wait!" The 100 Needles chief hurriedly shouted, trying to stop them, but it was too late. In fact, even the Lord of Spitfire City could only use spiritual charge without using any spells. The array in the air quickly dissipated. The Lord of Spitfire City immediately rose into the air and looked around, observing the entire Spitfire Island. Jia and the other 2 saints were doing the same thing as her. This kind of array must have another end. Sure enough, the next moment, the other end of the array appeared. It was just 5 or 6 arrays shining at the same time, their auras bursting out, evenly distributed all over Spitfire Island. Only one of them was a real array, and the others were obviously fake. The Lord of Spitfire City frowned slightly. "Go all out. Find them and kill them on the spot." Before she finished speaking, she took the lead and flew towards the farthest point of light. Brick and the others immediately responded and flew away. "Sir, what should we do?" In the alley, the Armtile asked. The chief of the 100 Needles tribe took a deep breath, his face full of anxiety. "Let's go after them and cooperate with the governor of Spitfire City and the others to quickly identify the real one." It was exposed that the 100 Needles clan was in contact with the alien gods. This fact was too unfavorable for the 100 Needles clan. In addition, the leader of the 100 Needles clan had to rescue Jinjin, so he had to do his best to atone for his crime. The Murloc Divine Child and the others were panting heavily. The feeling of using the teleportation array was very uncomfortable, and they needed time to get used to it. The mermaid deity had the best physique and was mentally tough, so he was the first to react. His vision cleared up, and his hearing and sense of smell returned to normal. Then, he saw the radiance of a teleportation array quickly dissipating. So fast! The Divine Son's expression changed. It only took them 4 to 5 seconds to teleport to the Murloc deity, and one of the camouflage arrays was broken. It should be the work of the governor of Spitfire City himself. Legendary wizards had too many tricks up their sleeve. The Murloc Divine Child hurriedly dragged Song Su and ZD, one in each hand, and took the lead to escape. As he exclaimed, Lan Zhao, Sandao, and the others followed closely behind. "I see you." Sha Bun sensed the movement and sneered. He immediately stretched out his palm and aimed it at the Murloc Divine Child and the others. The next moment, he released his fighting technique. The ground where the Murloc Divine Child and the others were running suddenly ejected countless sharp stone spikes. Each spike was at least 2 meters long, and the tip was as sharp as a spear. The Murloc Divine Child and the others couldn't escape in time and were pierced by the spikes. They became corpses hanging on the spikes, and blood flowed everywhere. "It's over." Sha Bun smiled and flew over slowly and cautiously. However, when he arrived at the scene, his expression suddenly changed. The corpses of the Murloc Divine Child and the others in front of him turned into bubbles and disappeared before his eyes. "It's fake." Sha Bun's heart sank and he flew into the sky again. Then, he saw that he wasn't the only one. The Mermaid Divine's son and the others had appeared in other places. Some of them were blasted into carbon powder by Taya, while others were burned by the puppet Tucker. But then, without exception, they all turned into bubbles and dispersed. "What's going on? Are they all fake?" Everyone was puzzled. At this moment, the Lord of Spitfire City's eyes focused and looked at the bottom of the sea. She sensed that there was an alchemy ship in the depths of the sea, diving at full speed to escape from Spitfire Island. "It's the underwater magical ship in the shape of a strange fish. Is the teleportation formation at the other end on the ship? They want to use it to escape?" In an instant, all kinds of guesses appeared in her mind. "We've found traces of the enemy, follow me." The Lord of Spitfire City waved his hand and took the lead to fly out of Spitfire Island, like a crimson meteor, extremely fast. Taya and the others followed closely behind and flew out as well. At another dock, the treasure was docked. "Tan-mo, what should we do?" The Lord of Blunt Blade City looked hesitant. "Should we go after them?" Tan-mo's expression was conflicted. The fluctuations and radiance of the formation had caused too much of a commotion. Then, the Lord of Spitfire City, Taya, and the others made a move openly, shocking everyone. The treasure had been in a state of alert. As soon as the teleportation fluctuations appeared, Tan-mo and the others reacted. But they were very hesitant and did not make a move, because they saw the Murloc Shensi and the others, confirming that the Justice Pirates were on the island. Tan-mo was only a gold level, and did not want to fight Blue Charm God at all. Especially at this time, when Admiral Igue had not appeared yet. He had no one to rely on at all. He could only delay, and then he saw the Lord of Spitfire City and the others fly out of the island, and it was obvious that they were chasing the enemy. "My superiors want me to fight to the death. If I still shrink back, I'll definitely be court-martialed. But if I rush up now, won't I be courting death? Blue Charm God can kill me with one finger, no, one look." Tan-mo gritted his teeth, and his head was already covered in cold sweat. At this moment there was a loud boom. The entire Spitfire City shook, and the volcano in the city spewed out thick black smoke. Then, an extremely majestic aura of life was exposed from within. God level. It was a genuine God-level creature. "It's Blue Charm God." Sha Bun's pupils shrank, and he could not help but exclaim. The Lord of Spitfire City and the others stopped flying. "We've been tricked." The Murloc Shensi deliberately attracted our attention. Puppet Tucker's tone was cold. "Let's go back together." The Lord of Spitfire City glanced at the gold-level magic ship that was about to be caught, and did not hesitate to turn back. Taya hesitated for a moment, and quickly followed the Lord of Spitfire City. Puppet Tucker and Sha Bun took a deep look at deep-sea monster fish, and also flew back to Spitfire Island. "Quick, let's go. Our target is that underwater magic ship." Seeing this, Tan-mo was so happy that he almost jumped up. Other than Blue Charm God, the Murloc Shensi and the others were at most silver level. Tan-mo suddenly became bold. "You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.